As I was saying, anyway, this is part 2. Sorry about that. I got cut off. I forgot to set my timer because my camera runs out after 10 minutes. The olfactory senses, the sense of smell is the most prominent feature of our sensory organs that allows us to, I should say not prominent, our smell is the most trustworthy source of information, I think, because your eyes can, if you're in a dark room, you can't see what's around you, and if something's really far away, you can't hear it, perhaps, and of course you have to be close to something to smell it. The difference is if you hear a sound, you may associate it with a different sound. It may, you may think it's something that it's not. If you see something, you may think it's something that it's not. But with smell, anyone who's smelled something from childhood knows what I'm talking about. You bring that sense back. It instantly brings forth pictures and ideas of a time in your life or a time when you've smelled that. And to me, that's just amazing in its own right. What exactly is it about smell? And I'm trying to think of a particular smell, but I can't at the moment. There's a particular smell that I remember from childhood, and a while back it came forth. I don't know where I smelled it, but I was walking down the street or something, and instantly this whole scenario came into my mind, being a kid and smelling this smell. And they say that the nose doesn't forget, and I think this is why food is so fascinating. You know, good smelling food, people love that smell. Like, it brings back memories of home and whatnot. But since I haven't gone into that part of the lecture yet, I don't know exactly what he's going to say, but I'm curious to know if smell has its own faults, its own, I mean, I know it does, but what faults those are, how smell can fool us into thinking that we smell something, if it can, or if it's a very much more trustworthy smell. One of the most fascinating things to me is knowing that when you smell something that your body doesn't agree with, that your body knows is harmful, you'll get disgusted, you'll pull back disgusted. Very rarely have I found something that really smells good that I know is bad, because if my mind knows it's bad, we associate it. And of course we'll get into touch and taste and all those different things eventually, and but for right now, it's just the hearing and the vision. And the reason why I'm making this video and talking about this nonsense is because I'm really trying to get a grasp on why people believe things that are obviously either not true or I don't have any place to tell people what's true and what's not. It's not my place. But things that, let's say 99.9% of society has never seen or heard or believed in, and one person claims that this is the God, this is what's watching us because I heard him, he spoke to me, or I saw this, I heard this, I felt this. I think sensing things, feeling things is the worst, the worst form of believing in something, but perhaps trusting your senses is even worse. In other words, we follow our vibes, our instinct, our intuition, but sometimes we need to know if our intuition is correct or if it's just us fooling ourselves to want to believe in something. So having this idea that people fool themselves through their senses into believing things, I want to know why, and I want to know exactly what it is that one of the most fascinating aspects to this is mass hysteria. And just look on Wikipedia or something, just look up mass hysteria and look at some of the events that have happened. There have been laughing fits that have broken out over entire countries that have spread like a disease. Laughing, this is it's a serious thing. It's not just a joke. These are happened in Japan. Little schoolgirls started laughing, and pretty soon, some of them, one had to be hospitalized, I think. A bunch got severely dehydrated, and there was a dancing outbreak in some American town back in the 1800s, where people could not stop dancing. One guy started dancing out in the street, next thing you know, a few more joined him, and everybody was hysterically just dancing. They couldn't stop. People were out there feeding them and giving them drinks and stuff. Eventually it faded. What I'm getting at there is that these, when one person hears, feels, or sees something, or senses something, it's easy for them to either influence others or for others to influence themselves based on what they're watching. And this has happened when one person sees the Mother Teresa, let's say, or Mary or whatever, and then all of a sudden the whole village sees her. You know, he points and says, "You see that? It's Mary." Everybody says, "Yeah, yeah." Well, the way that the mind develops memories is we convince ourselves that what we saw was true, because that's the only way we can get past it. We don't have time to sit and think and consider and dwell on everything we've done in our lives. At one point, a person has to just believe something, and doesn't have to, but chooses to. And then the memories that are created around that situation become cloudy, and we start to develop memories that aren't necessarily what happened. And then we ask others, maybe I wasn't so sure, you know, about what I saw, and they say, no, I saw it too, it was true. And this is reinforcement, and I call it, you know, the echo chamber is what it's called. One person says something, the other person confirms it, and then it's set in stone. And through history, this has created many, many conflicts among religious groups. You know, everybody in a culture might believe one thing, and then all of a sudden, one or two people have an experience down by the river where someone spoke to them, and then they start getting followers and people who believe them. And next thing you know, people look at the group and say, "Well, if all of them believe this, it must have happened. It must be true." And we're all at the mercy of our senses. And so back to the one about intuition, is intuition or instinct really a valid sense? Or is it something that's been created by you know, our own natures in order to make ourselves happy? In other words, we have these behavioral patterns that keep us from freaking out about stuff. You know, that's what belief systems are. You know, you can't go around your whole life just saying maybe, maybe, maybe. You have to have some sort of a belief that something exists. I have to know that my workplace is going to exist when I get there. I have to know my family is going to exist when I get home. And I'm very sure of that because it's happened over and over. But still, I don't know for sure if some of the things that I sense that aren't sensed with my five senses, if those are true. In other words, intuition, instinct, feelings, vibes. You know, I've gone by vibes a lot in the past, and usually they do me all right. But I can't have a vibe that something exists just because I want it to exist. That kind of stuff. So we use our senses to the best of our ability and hope that we can do something with them, that something constructive to see the world around us, and not trying to not fool ourselves, but it's bound to happen. I just, the way the eyeball is constructed to me is just utterly fascinating. You'll hear people talk about reduction and stuff, where you can't reduce the eyeball, and that God must exist because the eyeball exists, and all this. Well, you know, hearing and taste and smell are even more insane than that. None of these things are really existing. Smells, taste, touch, these things are chemical converted into electrical signals that are sent to our brain, and we tend to forget everything is electrical signals. So we have to make sure our electrical system is up and running right. So anyway, it's some amazing stuff to me. I know I've just been rambling for 2 videos about senses, but it's something that's really been on my mind lately, is what makes people so convinced that they saw a UFO, let's say, when it was obvious they didn't, or it's never really obvious. I'm not one to tell people what they did or didn't see, but in a situation where everyone else says it was lanterns, and one guy says, no, it was UFO because I saw this or that, and our memories tend to fool us into remembering things not the way they happened. So our memories are flawed, and so are our senses, but they're damn good ones. So off to work. I hope you're all doing well today. Enjoy.